This is part two of Aiden's story. For part two, I'm gonna break it up and have a little bit more from part two into part three. But for this video itself, to me, I feel it's important to discuss the medical data and medical aspects of what was discovered in the very beginning of his cancer battle. Full disclosure, I am not a medical professional, nor am I a medical expert. I'm just a parent who, for some reason, was in the right mindset to heavily document everything. I still have his blood work and paperwork to this day. Not only are these videos to share and help inspire others out there of his innocence, his resilience, and his strength and courage, but to also help spread the word around that pancreatic cancer in children can happen. I have the data to back it up with. And my host with these videos is to at least, spread the word around that, hey, it's possible. It's not impossible. And there was research done to back up this claim. If you were to dig around a little bit, you'll come across a research paper that came out a couple years ago. That's my son. So just to recap a little bit, back in October of 2022, he had a 10-day stay at UPMC Children's Hospital, which everything went from liver failure to, I believe, it looks like his stomach's put on backwards. I can't figure it out, to having a scope done with a biopsy. Which, at the beginning of November, the biopsy reports came back that, yes, it is indeed pancreatic cancer, and at that point, it's stage 4. There were spots that were discovered on the liver, which is absolutely mind-blowing if you think about it, because October 22, that little boy just finished up his deck hockey season. They had an end of season pizza party for the children, for the kids, and he's out there living life, smiling, laughing, enjoying playing the game he loved to play. No one knew at the time he was sick. And here we are 3 months later, getting his first dose of chemotherapy after he got his port put in. His first overnight stay, his first day was supposed to have been November 8th to November 10th. There was a hiccup, and he ended up being discharged November 11th, and I'll explain that here in a moment. But these doctors really didn't have a clue of what kind of regimen or what to do for this child in the very beginning, because there's absolutely nothing documented. There's no research, nothing. So what they did was they talked to different doctors from across the country, some contacts over in Europe, and the regimen that they initially tried on him in the very beginning was 85 milligrams of cisplatin, 40 milligrams of leucovorin. Then he was getting 180 milligrams of irinotecan, and then 400 milligrams of 5-FU for 46 hours. They did include dexamycin, which is a steroid, just to help his body out, because they weren't exactly sure what was going to happen here. We were told too that, side effects were going to be, hair loss, looking pale, sweat, hot, possibly fever. But this is a medication and dosage that's normally meant for adults. They did try to adjust for his age and his body weight, but we really were going into the unknown. The plan was for every 2 cycles to have a CT scan, which one cycle was 3 weeks of chemotherapy and 1 week off, and then 3 more weeks of chemotherapy, with the scan being on week 8. Now, that first initial hospital stay, we were told that, hey, we don't know what's going to happen here, but we're going to do everything we can for your son. And just to give you an idea of what my son was like, I'll never forget when he was first in the hospital in October of 22. Nurses come by in the middle of the night, do blood work and check on blood samples, his hemoglobin, his vitals. They woke him up from his sleep, and his sense of humor, he woke up, was like, hey, wait, what's going on here? Like, it's okay. We're just coming by to get your vitals. We're just going to do some blood work. And when they, he was absolutely exhausted from having his blood taken at that point. And after they calmed him down and cut the blood work out of him, he was, upset, obviously. And he said, do you want to call people like you? And nurses looked at him like, wait, what? He said, do you want to call people like you who take blood out of people? They call you the M-word. Because of censorship, I can't exactly say it, but I mean, you can read between the lines what he meant. He more or less was insinuating that nurses were trying to unalive him for taking blood out of his body. We obviously apologized to the nurses, and it just caught the nurses off guard. They just kind of like gave a little bit of a laugh. And my son's like, that's not funny. He's like, I'm serious. But he had that personality, that flow of the tongue, to where, despite the seriousness of it, yeah, he was scared. But, he had his humor too. So, his first dose of chemo finally came. Originally, like I said before, it was supposed to have been from November 8th to November 10th. However, there were a few hiccups along the way. And unfortunately, part of the hiccups was his glucose skyrocketing up. His glucose, about on average range, is supposed to be about 110, a little bit less than that. It was skyrocketed up at one point to 234. And they initially gave him, they had to give him 3 shots of insulin because it actually went above 234 into the 350 ranges. Initially they gave him 1 shot. The first shot was 2 units of insulin. The second shot was 2 more units of insulin. And then they had to give him a third shot of insulin with 3 units of it. Now, for anyone out there who understands what that means, they could not control it. They couldn't control his blood sugar. They did finally get it down to right about 100 at the time of discharge, which was a sigh of relief for the doctors. But what your pancreas really does is it helps control and regulate your blood sugar and help digest, food passing by. So the fact that when you have pancreatic cancer and you try to fight it, by adding the steroids in it, you increase the risk of your glucose skyrocketing out of control, and the cancer doesn't exactly like, it being attacked. So it's going to, attack back and try to suffocate everything that's coming at it. But just to throw some more medical data at you, which is why doctors initially thought that, he might have been liver failure. For example, back in October, his ALT was 147, his ALK was 445, and his total bilirubin was 7.1. Those are extremely high dangerous levels, signaling that, hey, something's wrong with the liver, something's wrong with that area of the body. Your ALK, your ALT is, the range for him at the time is supposed to be 0 to 32. Your ALK was supposed to be about 142 to 336, and your total bilirubin is not supposed to really go above 0.7. So, right there off the bat, the doctors, obviously back in October, raised as many red flags as possible because the data, backed up the science. Something was significantly wrong, horribly wrong with his child right now, and we need to do everything we can. So during his hospital stay, his AST at one point did drop down to 116. His ALK dropped down to 300, and his total bilirubin did drop down to 1.6, which the doctors, felt better, but he had to stay in there the extra day in the hospital because of his glucose level skyrocketing. It took him roughly about a day and a half just to get the glucose under control. But like they explained to us at the hospital, with his third doses of chemotherapy with the 5FU, he was going to be on it for 46 hours. And they wanted to make sure, everything was going, as smooth as humanly possible. Because when he comes home, he's going to be carrying that bag around him pretty much for a day and a half. Well, almost 2 days. So they want to make sure, they got the right dosage, or if they need to adjust something, they could. But the doctors felt satisfied enough to where they were able to discharge him only after, keeping him for one more night. And it's like I said to him at the time, hey, do what you need to do, kid. I'll do everything I need to do for you. So when they need to do your blood work, just try and cooperate with them. Do everything you can, and I'll do everything I can to help support you and give you what you need to help you through this process, through this journey. And I'll never forget, too, that when I looked at him and said, you have my word, kid. When I give you my word, it's more than a promise. It means that I will move heaven and earth for you. So the one thing he wanted after, he was able to finally eat after, being in the hospital for, those 2 days, finally getting out the medication, he said, Dad, I want something different to eat. And I'm like, well, what do you want? He said, you know what I want. I'm like, no, I don't. He said, I want my fried chicken. I'm like, oh my gosh, Aiden. I'm like, how am I going to get that? He said, I want my sweet tea too. And I'm thinking, look, kid, your glucose just skyrocketing and everything else, and you want some sweet tea. So I got the okay from the nurses before I went ahead with this. And he said, go get it. I'm like, okay. So I looked at the nurse and told her I'm going to get him food. And 45 minutes later, I walked back into the hospital with KFC, and they looked at me and said, where'd you get the KFC from? I said, I walked 12 miles to get this KFC for this kid. And they were like, wait, what? Yeah, I said, I walked 12 miles round trip for this KFC. Because, they popped their nose and like, that smells good. They're like, this smells better than what I have for lunch here. So that little boy was in his absolute glories. After taking everything like a champ, he was able to have his fried chicken. So from there on out, me and him had a clear understanding, you do what you need to do. I will do what I need to do to help you out, kid. So for the next couple months, he was actually very fortunate. He really didn't have chemotherapy around Thanksgiving. It really didn't ruin his Thanksgiving, though. But come Christmas time, we try to explain to him, you gotta do what you need to do, kid. Yes, he had chemotherapy around Thanksgiving time. Christmas coming up. You gotta do what you need to do. So, for those first 2 months, the road was absolutely rough and bumpy. His vitals kept, remaining the same. His ALT, ALK still was, in those upper high numbers. And we kept, saying our prayers, crossing our fingers that, hey, we got a CT scan coming up here at the beginning of the year. Keep knocking on wood and let's see and wait and see what happens here. But those moments alone, I'll always treasure the most, because those holidays are what meant the most to my son. Just the time of being a family, just being around each other. He really wasn't, he liked presents, but he was a simple man, simple kid. Just enjoying family time, just being around others. That's what really made him happy. was his family and friends. And during those first couple months, yeah, he was sick. He was starting to lose his hair a little bit. But the whole sweat thing, yeah, he had, he was sweating a little bit. There was times where he would be absolutely drenched when he woke up from his chemotherapy when we had to bring it home. But he really didn't have any of the fevers. And ironically, was another side effect of the chemotherapy, was him losing the weight, and not just losing the weight, but decrease in blood flow. Ironically, he really didn't lose any of the weight, and he really didn't lose a lot of blood. Somehow his body was able to maintain the blood flow. His hemoglobin was still up there around, 910, which is, mind-boggling too. And when he came off the chemotherapy, his body would just replenish it. It was absolutely crazy. But when you really think about it too, a 9-year-old child, children are supposed to be, more resilient. The body's so quicker, they're constantly pumping out blood. As you get older, it tends to be, works backwards. You start, your body isn't what it used to be. You're not healing as fast. Your body's not, producing more blood. But this little boy was absolutely resilient with everything, the first couple months. So that's part 2 of Aiden's story. Leave a comment, got a question, feel free to ask. If you want to keep hearing more of his story, I'm going to work on part 3 next. So click that like button, subscribe, turn your notifications on. I do these videos to tell my son's story. It's something that I believe the world needs to hear, not just because of his strength, his courage, his innocence, his love, but the fact that a biopsy had to be done on a 9-year-old child, and it confirmed, everyone's worst fears, that the impossible was possible, that a child can get pancreatic cancer. So that's it for now. Like I said, stay tuned. I'll be making part 3 here soon. So I'll see you guys in the next video.